Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. I'm going to be going back to playing my Beelze Archetype, which is in a custom duel that you see right now. Reason being because I actually added an additional card to this deck that you're possibly going to see later. So waiting for my opponent to make his move as he's playing an Endymion Pendulum deck. So it was already an archetype, he's just making new support for the deck because it seems pretty lopsided, but I was thinking he would have given the deck more pendulums, as you can really look at the synergy that it might add to Endymions. Because before they were kind of like a dead archetype before pendulums even existed, but with pendulums they actually become more useful, and they get to make the most out of spell counters, and that's what the deck revolves around. So it's like by having pendulums as well as Endymion monsters, it will help you maintain a lot of spell counters and make the most out of it, as you see right now. So, because it made getting several spell counters a lot more accessible, it made the deck more viable because it ensured that if you had pendulums, because they're treated as spells, to increase the number of spell counters depending on the number of effects they have as in the pendulum zone. And like I said, they're always treated as spell cards while in the pendulum zone. And look, like you see what's gonna happen right now. Demon's gonna gain another spell counter. But there's more to come. You just gotta wait for the odds and what is gonna happen. So spell power creation allows him to add either an Endymion card or spell power from his deck to the hand. So it's to ensure that like he can set up the necessary board that he needs to acquire his boss monster, as well as being able to see his spell cards a lot more often and setting up his continuous spells as well as field spell, so that it can help increase the number of spell counters, and that the more spell counters you have, the more you can make use of the deck. So basically the number of spell counters makes Endymions a lot more stronger. So he managed to contain a lot of spell counters, but it just this is not personally. It just doesn't seem like the right end board as you look at right now. So obviously it's my turn. Card that I had to 100% draw since I had a pretty awkward hand. Just what I was looking forward to. So I immediately drawn to Lower Darkness. Which is possibly why you play 40 cards. I'm allowed to draw 2 cards. And I draw into my field spell as well as a new card I just created, Beelze Setting. Has a unique effect, not only very powerful, but a unique effect, but it requires a restriction where for this effect to activate and resolve, you gotta discard 1 Beelze non-tuner monster from your hand, and you can pretty much read the rest. So if he thinks these 2 monsters, this one monster in Pelham Zone was his end board, it pretty much put him at an even bigger disadvantage. So because you need strong monsters that can like disrupt the opponent, and so allowing me to activate Crimson Beelze, which you see right now. I'm discarding Trace from my hand because it's not going to do anything during my turn since it's a trap card. So thanks to Crimson Beelze effect, I'm allowed to add 2 Beelze monster, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner, and Beelze Setting's other effect activates once it resolves. I'm allowed to special summon a Beelze tuner monster from my hand. And Giant Sunbeam's effect, when summoned, I'm allowed to retrieve one of my Beelze non-tuner monsters from my grid, or non-tuner dark insect monsters besides Beelze, as you see. So but it's the same thing. You're mainly using it to retrieve your Beelze monsters that are not tuner. So, same thing with the Mantis Paladin. Since I control Dark Instant tuner monster, special summon from my hand, and on top of that, I get to add one Beelze card from my deck to my hand. Overall, just essentially very powerful extender. Not only to get an easy special summon free, as well as instant search the moment it's summoned. So, which in itself is incredible. So the moment it's summoned, even if your opponent has a trap that tries to get rid of it, and it doesn't negate, the effect still resolves. So just in its own outright very powerful. So, and because I used Giant Centipede, I attributed one. Just make sure how well the effect works. I attributed one of my Beelze monsters from hand to draw two. And I used Terraform to add another Beelzebub's Nest. Then from here on out, I'm going to synchro for 8, since both of them are level 4. I'll use Guardian Beelze effect. Guardian Dragon's effect. I pay 1,000. Apparently, they aren't destroyed by a card effect. Just fine by me. Go ahead. Let's fast forward. Because it's protected by the Citadel, I assume that's the reason why. And then I'll use Beelzebub Approach to put some of my tuner Nightcrawler from my hand. And on top of that, I gotta pay 300. And if I do, I draw one card. The only possible restriction this card has is that it returns to my hand during the end phase. So, but I can be able to make the most out of its effect. So, because it's not going to be in the field for too long either way, because you're most likely going to use it for a synchro summon. And you want to get rid of the monsters that are in your hand to go into your potential synchro plays or whatever monsters in your extra deck if you don't have any synchros, but it just helps regardless because those monsters are not going to stay there, remain in the field forever, because you want to replace them for something stronger. So for a powerful monster that lies in your extra deck. So as we're waiting, I'm just trying to figure, before I even summon anything with Nightcrawler, I'm going to use its other effect. I target one of my Beelze monsters, which is in my grave, or resides on my field. So I'm going to be targeting Giant Centipede. And you're aware what it does. I contribute Guardian Dragon, and I draw 2 cards, which in a way helps because Guardian Dragon has an additional effect if it's in the grave. I can banish it, including one Dark Insect tuner monster as well as non-tuner monster from my graveyard, to special summon a Dark Synchro Dragon from my action deck. So I banish 3 in exchange for a Dark Synchro monster. Oh, so which I'm going to use right now. I'm going to go to Bestial Dispatter. So for the pronunciation. And then there's this loop I can use. I'll use Doomhopper's effect to retrieve the Guardian Dragon, as well as Giant Centipede. And what else am I going to retrieve? Behemoth Moth. So I can replay the same thing, but I gotta wait till next turn, since Guardian Dragon's banish effect is a hard once per turn. So like I said, I'm waiting for another synchro play, which I'm going to be using the current Nightcrawler that I summoned with Approach, and then tune with Doomhopper to go into Agravern. Use Agravern's effect, becomes level 1. I'm going to synchro for 11 to go into Archdragon. And same thing with Agravern, I banish itself, including a Dark Insect Tuner, as well as a non-tuner monster from my graveyard, to go into Archfiend Abyss. And I'll use Beelzebub's Nest just in case I can't activate its effects. But you'll understand, no activation. But furthermore, which allows me to activate Archdragon's effect because I can banish a monster from my grave or field or hand, depending on the number of face-up spell trap cards I control, and is not targeting. So, and it is a quick effect too, which it helps during my turn, including opponents. But it all depends on the number of face-up spell traps I control in my field. And I got a banish for cost, so it is 100% worth it. It's just I really want to. It doesn't really hinder the card too much. Archdragon's effect isn't 200, but it ensures that the effect itself isn't too broken. So it's like it does require you to have a specific card available before you can activate its other powerful effect. And then Beelzebub's Nest effect, you're aware about the last one, turning up to 3 banished dark monsters to my graveyard. And I'm going to end my turn there. So at this point, I have 2 disruptions on my field that I can utilize. So my opponent has to deal with has to try and figure out to get around these 2, which is our Archfiend Abyss, and it was Archdragon. And thanks to Beelze's Wrath, I can banish up to 2 cards my opponent controls, as long as I banish 2 monsters in my grave field, as well as hand. Just to confirm with you guys, let me show you the card text. Yeah, up to the number of face-up spell trap cards. He's curious if I have anything, so I tell him, no, you're good. Because I don't blame him, because the cards I already have are just very oppressive. So it's like he's probably thinking if I have any other cards that are just gonna prevent him, that are just gonna like conceal him, that are just gonna like seal his card effects or limit his options. So he wants to confirm first, but I let him know he's good for now. So I just want to wait what he has to activate before I decide to use anything, before I decide to counter any cards. So I'm waiting for the right opportunity, because I don't want to outright waste money on my card effects so that he can bait me into forcing me to use one of my effects, and then realize I'm supposed to use against the real threat. I wait until he actually plays the actual threat. But you want to slow your opponent down, but you want to ensure that you want to use it at the last second. Because the moment he plays that card, it's usually a card that will try and hurt your deck. Or it's usually a card that outs almost any card that you were waiting to save for the other card effects. So it's like if you activate it too soon, then he most likely baited you, and then you forced yourself into a misplay. So you want to be sure to avoid a misplay is just let him or her utilize as many card effects and wait until the threat shows up, and that's when you decide to chain to the effect, so that you have a chance of like ensuring that you're 100% in the safe zone. So I'm gonna banish his 2 pendulum monsters just in case. I'm not too sure if this closes the duel. Who knows? But that's enough to do a lot of harm to his deck. So this possibly might seal the deal. Who knows? I only banished 2 though, because I'm trying to be honest with the effect. It already says in text, because I did design the card out. I'm trying to be real, so I don't want to take too much credit. So I just want to be sure that how that card actually works to let them know what is required before I can use its effect. So I personally think that was the right play, even though I said don't use your cards too soon, because they can resolve more cards that you might not be aware of, and then it just does catch you off guard, because the moment you do that, then it puts you at a disadvantage, and then you realize you misplayed. So, but either way, I feel like I have this duel in the bag. So all depends. If he has a counter to my strategy, then yes, he can make a comeback. So he's going to utilize his spell. So it just targets 1 card in my graveyard. It banishes. That's fine. I don't really mind. Barely does any harm to my deck whatsoever. So, because I can just retrieve with Beelze's Nest, or besides that, I have other cards that can retrieve it. So doing that does not hurt my deck whatsoever. So if it had been a card on my field, then I possibly have to do that, because especially if he's trying to go against my Archfiend Abyss or Archdragon. But the thing is, he cannot leave the field by my opponent's card effects either way. But then I'm going to negate with Archfiend Abyss, and this is where he's going to be forced to scoop now. So, because I pretty much like locked him out from using any of his card effects, and yeah, he's forced to admit defeat. I locked him out from using his cards, and I ensured that I made sure to seal his plays, make sure I have big bodies on field, so to make sure that I could put this duel in check, and that when I do, that my victory will be flawless, and then I don't have to worry about any other counter strategies, and that I could possibly go after him for game, which you see right now. Again, that's all I want to showcase to you guys. Was you could tell it was a very interesting duel. Not much came from the opponent. I wish he summoned more monsters as well as had a good end board. I think that's what really cost him duel. Just that it might not like it just seemed like his overall the field that he set up just wasn't good enough. Even considering how strong my cards were, it's just that he didn't customize the deck where it's capable of doing more and putting the good right amount of setup where he can disrupt me or go into a specific main deck monster or boss monster, whether it's from the extra deck, regardless. But that's what actually put him in the losing end of the situation because he didn't have the right proper setup to make sure that he could hold me back as much as possible, which clearly was enough, which is also the reason why it led me the victory because overall I managed to summon a bunch of monsters. The deck in itself, I'll admit, it can be abruptly broken, but if your opponent plays a deck that can summon big monsters and has disruptions, then chances are the Beelze archetype can be defeated. People can take advantage of this deck, and it's not. I guarantee you, 100%, it is not unbeatable. So there's a chance that the opponent can wreck this deck. You just got to know what cards can compete in the current meta, and if this deck was legal, if it were to exist, who knows what would get hit. And maybe it does not compare to the actual cards, and maybe it may 100% there's a chance it may stand up to the meta, but who knows because we have to decide how the cards work with that format, especially in the TCG, to truly find out and be aware whether it's any broken or if it's just like a deck that shouldn't be touched and is good the way it is, and if there were to be changes, maybe make a couple of hits to slow the deck down. And even though they heavily utilize banishing cards from the graveyard to the banish zone and getting access to easy dark synchro monsters, that's something that needs to be mentioned as well as be put in check. So that way it doesn't get to the point where it breaks the game state and that it doesn't lead to several complaints and possibly people quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! But that's only if this was to become like non-fiction in Yu-Gi-Oh! Only if it was non-fiction. Either way, overall, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content later future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.